Hi and welcome to a weekly outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday the 30th of July. I'm not going to go through masses of detail in terms of these numbers that are coming out. I'm just going to pinpoint the real key ones that are happening this week. I cover them each morning anyway, so you just tune into the morning outlooks. But for now, key ones then. Bank of Japan, early hours of the morning, they'll be making the decision on whether to make any changes there. Very unlikely going to make any change in terms of the policy rate, but any other statements or any more liquidity that they can provide may create some volatility there for the yen, so watching it for that. Side of that, we're really moving then through the day. There are some, as I say, some other lesser data coming out, or there is some lesser data coming out. Really moving forward then to Wednesday, we much more data coming through on Wednesday. Manufacturing PMI, key figure for the UK there. Watch closely, followed then by the US data coming out at 3. We've got the manufacturing data coming out. Non-farms in between, the ADP figure. Okay, it's a bit of volatility, but not major. And then, of course, the FOMC statement. Traders will be watching to see the tone taken within the statement, and the fund rates there is not expected to change, but that will be key for Wednesday, which leads us into Thursdays, and the key number there really is the Bank of England meeting, and there's an expectation of a 0.25% rise. So that 0.25%, if that occurs, and the voting is expected to come in 8-1, that is pretty much priced in. If it doesn't happen, we could see some more softening of the pound. Bearing in mind that is priced in, the pound's not held on too well of late, but here we are. Moving through there, then on we got Carney speaking at 12:30, so maybe following that we may get some volatility kicking it right away through there from 12 right the way through on Thursday. Then on Friday, retail sales in the Aussie retail sales, but more importantly, more likely to give us volatility through our trading session there. We got for the pound, we got the services PMI, and then non-farm payrolls at 1:30. So finishing the day off with some ISM services or non-manufacturing data, so PMI. So a key day on Friday, lots coming out, maybe a bit more of a kicker at 3 o'clock, see what happens with the non-farms. So plenty there to go for this week. Right, let's look at the technicals and sentiment. In fact, let's have a quick look at sentiment first on the starting then with the euro here, and looking at the sentiment, how it's changing really for the big pension funds, the asset managers here. Slight bit off the shorts there, nothing significant. Longs growing a little bit more positive towards the euro there, and you notice the shorts here, a slight adjustment. In fact, an overall for the leverage funds, the hedge funds, more of a swing there, but not massive, bearing in mind they're more than 2.5 to 1 sitting there short at the moment, but there is a bit of a swing coming through there. Maybe we're seeing the bottom of this from that point of view. Okay, or from the sentiment point of view, of course a lot can happen this week, and it's already started to a degree. It's starting to let's come back to that weekly for a minute. You see this sort of wedge pattern, still tight. It's well and truly in there, a very tight old movement. If we bring this down actually to a daily, I can show that wedge on a clearer chart here. Key thing to be looking at in the next day or so, of course, as I've said, and I'm just going to change charts now, we could get stuck in this blue range for longer. It's been most of this month, well, all of this month, near enough all of last month. In fact, 2 months in a very tight old range at the moment, and we could see more of the same. We'll see, but maybe there's this sort of that erring that the upside may just sort of win out for a short while at least, particularly with the potential trade wars, etc., easing a little bit from the euro point of view. Now, whilst I talk about trade wars, I'm just going to flick very quickly. I talked about this last week, and I said I'll talk about it in a moment. Just look at the the good old Chinese yuan, or the renminbi, if you can correctly say it. But that's ever since Trump really started bringing in the and started the trade wars effectively. It could be that we could next be in for a currency war, because that is a significant difference in terms of the value of the yuan. Yeah, I mean, as I said before, this is always a problem. The Americans think they're winning it, but I don't think they'll win it here. And this is where the cost of US products, of course, will go up significantly. So it slows down trade from that point of view, and makes Chinese goods cheaper. So the difference there probably isn't hitting home as hard as some may expect, which is what I sort of alluded to last week, but I just wanted to sort of bring it up and show you on a chart here. So quite a significant over the last couple of months, and we could be in at some point. I mean, Trump alluded to Europe, etc., not pulling its weight, and that's why I sort of switched from the euro there. And well, maybe euro may start edging up a little bit here, but certainly that the Chinese currency there is certainly has looked soft. Now that in itself, it's technically looks like there's some divergence sitting at the highs. Sorry, just bring that back in just about 12 minutes. There we go. So erring on the divergence, sort of sitting up there, so it could just sort of roll itself off at some point and roll over a little bit, but maybe not quite yet. Potential to push up there, but as I said, we could see some currency wars. Okay, let's move on. Look at the pound. Let's look at the sentiment on the pound first. So we've seen the euro. Let's have a look at the pound. Well, a short side increasing more than anything else on the bigger pension money, sort of sitting there 2-to-1 short at the moment. And it looks like, well, there's money being unloaded from the long side from the hedge funds, and that's sort of edging up there, and there's more shorts going in. So it looks like there's a bit of a swing going from on the leverage funds, starting to move, and it's pitching up there. So move towards the short side. There's an agreement there for the pound. So what are we seeing technically? As I said, we've already seen priced in most likely the any change this week. So if that doesn't happen, boy, we could see this sell off a little bit. Of course, the softening there, and those options are sitting there. Futures are sitting there on the basis of probably the likelihood of Brexit not going too well. We'll see, but for now, it's certainly looking soft on a weekly basis and a daily basis. Well, it's edging up. We have a few good days, and then it sort of sells off quite strongly. But it's still, unlike the euro, which seems to have maybe put in a bit more of an option to turn, sort of. We've seen this month we've seen a new low. We haven't seen a new low in the euro. So maybe it's still got downside there. So and technically it just looks softer. Okay, at the moment, dollar yen sentiment. Let's have a look. Sentiment and dollar yen. What we're seeing here again, we're seeing a sort of a bit of a cut down on the short positions now. So short positions are being unwound here. However, there's a lot of traders unwound there on the hedge funds, unwound their long positions. So maybe well, certainly a swing there in that respect in terms of the width of them coming off, but overall it's still a net short position sitting there on the yen. What's happening here, which net short would expect the yen to be flying up? Well, we're not really seeing too much in that way at the moment. It's just come back to this weekly picture here, and it's sitting there. It sat there last week onto the weekly 8, and it's really consolidated. Very small bar there on the weeklies. Had the previous week run into that 200. Where are we sitting now? Well, it's just consolidating again. There's that sort of potential. It's come back to that daily 50 or air kissed the daily 50. I don't think it actually hit it. In fact, when I was looking at the shorter time frames, and I've talked about this today, I'm sorry, I just don't normally come back to a 4-hourly, but it did look like it might have sort of started edging up there. It's in a sort of a wedge pattern on this 4-hourly pattern. But at the moment it's struggling. If it can start pitching up, well, maybe I'll come back to this picture here, we can get above the weekly pivot, but we got the 821 look like there. It's just about across on the dailies there as well. All very soft looking and weak signs for the US dollar there against the yen. So yen, bit of strength coming through effectively. Okay, Aussie dollar. So let's have a look at sentiment on the Aussie dollar. It's really short positions increasing here, long positions coming off, so overall net short positions increasing on the Aussie dollar. What's the market doing weekly wise? It's still consolidated here, as I talk about it most mornings. It's very much like the euro in that aspect. Is it going to kick it up with the short positions? Maybe more biased towards the shorts than a long here. We'll have to see how it goes. Very, very difficult to pitch where that's running at the moment, but the very fact it's consolidating at some point it's going to go. It rallied it into last Wednesday there and rolled over Thursday, Friday. Well, we'll see, but it's a difficult one there in terms of understanding where it's going to go for now at least. Okay, Canadian dollar, all prices are holding. What we're seeing here, some of the shorts coming off and mixed old barrel, no pun intended when you're talking about oil and Canadian dollar, but what's coming up, we're still flat really, equal. There's no obvious from the bigger money from the hedge funds in easing of the long positions coming off, so maybe they're expecting weakness to come through. We'll see, but technically it's all we're seeing at the moment is maybe a bit more strength. It's working its way down. It's broken some points where I thought it might have turned. It's heading at the moment down towards that weekly 21, weekly 100. It's sort of, they're both sitting there. It's maybe just on the weekly 100. If it starts breaking beyond that area, well, could still see some more downside, but it did from this weekly point of view look like it had some more potential. What we're seeing now on the dailies is this sort of lower high, certainly confirmed at the moment, and well, it's broken the trend line. All the extent of purposes, it does look weak. It's got a very flat 500 it's back to, but the previous highs are sitting around that area, and it may just, as we've seen so often before, just run into a point of support and consolidate here. As we run through just a quick peep of oil as I talk about a currency, it relies on it so much. You see oil price just edging up, which if that could edge up a bit more, well, that'll bring the Canadian dollar down a bit more as the US dollar softens against it, but we'll see. Right, so that's pretty much there. I'll look at the New Zealand dollar very briefly. I'm not going to look at the sentiment of it. It has eased back a little bit. I talked about this, the extreme figure sitting in there. Maybe we've still got a chance of seeing this New Zealand dollar pitch up, but like a lot of these currencies, it's very difficult. It's not giving us an absolute obvious direction at the moment. Lots of chop, a few days up, a few days down, a couple of days down. It still looks like it may be, and maybe it'll have a bit better kicker. We could see some difference as the news comes out in the next day or two. Okay, New Zealand dollar, and where else did I want to go to? It's just, I've got some sentiment right. I didn't want to particularly look at the Canadian anymore. New Zealand, right, nothing majorly changed there. S&Ps, let's just have a look at the fundamentals of the S&Ps then. Some of the longs coming off from the institutional holders, larger institutional money coming off the longs. Probably, and there's some of the shorts coming off as well, but more long side coming off. So flat flat in relative terms between on the hedge funds there, but let's have a look at what's happening there on the futures. So a bigger picture weekly, well, as I said, it's a difficult one to bet against at the moment. Maybe it's just edging up a little bit. We put this shooting star in on last week's trading there. It's closed outside and further up its bands there. It's been pushing up, but bit of a soft old pattern that we're seeing here. Maybe there may be a bit more correction running through, but soft all the same. May just come back beyond that 21. We just watch that, but the risk, as I said at the beginning of the month, is that it could just well push up, and well, it's pushed up for most of this month. May just get a bit of adjustment as we're at the end of the current month there, and it'll be interesting to see if we see a continuation running through into August. Okay, not much else from that. And what else did I want to quickly look through? I'm sure I had something aligned. I thought, well, that was it. Actually, I'm going to cut it there. Actually, so that's pretty much it for this week. So plenty to come out of on a fundamental point of view. There's at least 3 days of solid numbers coming out. So have a great one. I'll be back probably not next week, so I'm going to wait for a week next week. The week after. Have a great one. Bye for now.